I need to stop looking so damn handsome. New petitions for lawnmowers being immune from DUI claims. As lawnmowers don't move that fast, they aren't threatening to kids, and if you're driving them on the highway, other drivers already know that you're drunk. Next, is your TRT putting your baby girl at risk of growing a micropenis? Next, we interview boomers working on their side role to combat the Gen Z stare, with millennials still figuring out what facial expression best suits them and creating a rock, paper, scissors shoot dynamic where the different generations square off and create their strategies for not working and siphoning more money from the Fed to support their lifestyles. Next, for those looking to improve their health, the smartest person Joe Biden knows explains why you should switch up your Swummer beers for crack cocaine.
Does crack cocaine make you act any differently? No. Is it safer than alcohol? Probably. People think of crack as being dirty. It's the exact opposite.
Next, concert venues reconsider the audience cam on the Jumbotron, with concert execs nervous about lack of demand for concerts if you can't safely go there and cheat on your spouse. And lastly, the hidden scandal that Trump and Epstein were actually lovers. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Run Your Mouth podcast. I am coming to you from the middle of a WNBA game. And don't worry, I don't think anyone's going to notice that I'm here. I don't think anyone's watching. I don't think anyone cares. I think I can safely do an entire broadcast right from the middle center court. I don't even think I'm going to get in anyone's way. I think it'll be a little bit of a pick and roll action as they all attack that one player. All right, listen, we got all sorts of news to get into. But before we do, I've got tales of traveling the open road. I've been out there. I've been venturing to our fine cities. And all of you, you sit in your cubicles. I'm pretending like this COVID didn't happen. You sit in your cubicles. You wonder what glamorous travel influencer lifestyle is like. And so you tune into programs like this that you can imagine what your glamorous travel lifestyle could be like. You wonder what it might be like to spend a weekend in Cleveland, Ohio. You sit there at your office, slaving away, just sitting at your cubicle, going home to your wife, your TV dinners, and just imagining what would my life be like if I could go to Cleveland, Ohio on a random weekend and see what Cleveland's all about. And that's why you tune into this show, so I can tell you all about being in Cleveland. Well, I went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I always wanted to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's weird to me that the cultural experience of being a fan of rock and roll makes you an old man. If you're out there right now and you grew up on Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne, if you're just a good old-fashioned American, I know that stuff kind of predates me. I was more like 8th grade during the grunge era, and then all of a sudden the boy bands came around, and then suddenly Howard Stern left K-Rock, and then New York City no longer even had a new rock and roll station. And so I don't know, you trying to explain to kids the rock and roll experience, and they're like, I like Justin Bieber. They don't even know what you're talking about. But anyways, I always wanted to visit the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I was curious to see what they had there. Big rock and roll fan because I'm an old man. And the first thing that caught my eye when I went and I visited the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was that there was a sign as you're walking into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame letting you know no smoking, no vaping, no this, no that. And I'm like, that's not very rock and roll of you. Can you imagine the corporate board meetings that these people have going on where you run in the Rock and Roll Museum and you got all sorts of rules and regulations about how you can appreciate their art? I mean, I guess that's just venues these days. I guess that's no different than any rock venue. It's incredible when I just look back at high school and going to New York City venues, what you could just walk into. I mean, I haven't gone to see Fish in Madison Square Garden in the last couple of years, but I remember the last time I went, they had brought in the metal detectors and they took away my little vape pen. I was like, do you know how many joints I used to this used to be one big old hot box. So anyways, this is just like the problem with inflation in America is that visiting the Rock and Roll, it was kind of cool. I got to see Jimi Hendrix guitar. I got to see the original briefcase full of blues briefcase. I got to see random guitars. You got to see random memorabilia. It wasn't $40 worth of cool. It was maybe $15 worth of cool. It wasn't even that big of a museum. It was like 4 floors. One whole floor was dedicated to Bon Jovi. So that floor was just out. Now you're looking at a 3-floor museum because I had no interest. I didn't even go to the Bon Jovi floor. I don't care enough about Bon Jovi. That whole floor was out. Then they did another whole floor, which was firstly, you could they had like a little basically garage, like a fake garage band set up so that you could jam with other people. So that if you were at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you could watch some random kids play Led Zeppelin. And then they also had multiple exhibits of just like, 40 years ago, this would have been cool when you couldn't just go to YouTube and listen to every piece of music that's ever existed in the history of ever. But there's listening stations, as if every single person doesn't have a phone in their pocket and can't pull up everything ever. They still have listening stations up against the walls, as if that's going to be as if you want to put on dirty headphones. This is post-COVID. Where are the Lysol wipes? I understand that COVID was a big old hoax, but couldn't we all learn as a society how to be better germaphobes? That you're just going to have headphones standing against a museum door without the decency of letting me clear off the last old man's earwax who doesn't even have a phone and needs to come to this museum and spend $40 to listen to music. You know what would have been better than the garage band floor is, they have like the break good stuff rooms. If they had fake motel rooms, you could have the rock and roll experience of just shattering shit. Anyways, I always wanted to visit the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I got out of my hotel. I went there for about an hour. I walked the whole thing, saw that. All right, that's kind of cool. All right, then we're done. That's the whole thing. The coolest thing was they had the inflatables from Roger Waters' The Wall. That big inflatable thing of the cartoon when it builds the wall and it's going to defecate on the guy's face and it turns into an ass, like the principal speaker thing. I think that was the coolest thing of the whole museum. Honestly, for rock and roll and the amount of memorabilia that must exist out there, and for the ability to kind of tell the story of going to the blues, to the rock, and all the big bands, not a whole lot at that museum. If I never been there and I was in Cleveland, I would spend the $40 to be like, hey, all right, I saw the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but it's not. I'm just letting you know it's not worth the price tag. But with inflation, that's just life. You go everywhere. You're like, I don't think this was worth the price tag. Fun shows out in Cleveland. You guys can go check out the live pod. I thought it was a fun one. I shouldn't even share this moment. I gotta just get back to healthy eating. The travel has just killed me because, I'm a sugar addict, and then you go through your phases where like you clean up your eating and you get into your groove where you're like, all right, I'm eating my eggs in the morning. I'm eating some ground beef in the afternoon. I'm good. This is all I need. And when you're at home, you can get into those grooves where you're doing the healthy eating thing. But then you get all the chaotic travel and you get into the Delta Lounge and they have all the cookies. And then you go to the comedy clubs and they're feeding you. And then all of a sudden, like you just, all right, listen, today's the day off. I'm going to eat this. And then you're just turning around and you've had 7 days in a row of eating muffins. And then you're home and you're just the vampire's been let back out and you're just craving muffins. And so I shouldn't be sharing this, but this is the ultimate sign of fat fuckery for all you nice people out there. The ultimate sign of fat fuckery is like when you're, you don't take the time to bake. You don't take the time to be a better cook, but you do find yourself augmenting already prepared junk food to make it more delicious. Like, here's an example. I once did this. Here's an example of that. There's a donut place by me that has these toasted coconut donuts, and they're pretty good. But you know what makes them excellent is if you slice them down the middle, and then you broil them in the ovens that they're like crispy and fresh, and then you take a raspberry jelly, and you put a raspberry jelly in the middle of it, and then you close the thing up, and then it's like you've got a fresh, I don't even know what I would describe that as, other than like a fresh... You know what it is? It's like back in the day, if you ever had like one of those Hostess zingers, it's like a fresh, delicious version of that. That would be an example of augmenting junk food. Or I remember back when I used to eat, I remember once I was in my house, I was bored. I must have been like 15 or something. And there was a bowl of Cheez-Its. And I was just bored in the afternoon. And you're like, you know what? I'm not going to make myself lunch. I'm not going to eat healthy. I'm not going to learn how to do anything. but I can put Cheez-Its. I can put fresh cheese on the Cheez-Its and put this in the microwave so that I have cheesier Cheez-Its. I can do that. So all I'm saying, I'm curious. I'm not seeing much action in the chat. It seems like my chat feature must be down right now. But I'm curious to hear from you guys. What are some just snack augmentations that you've made where you just buy standard junk food and you make that one adjustment to what's already prepared processed food that takes it from like being okay to like really delicious? And so anyways, I got very high after one of the shows, and I didn't think I was high until I like ate some snacks that I stole from the green room, and then I just had the taste of blood in my mouth, and I went down to the lobby for more snacks, and I found myself where I was opening up Oreos and sandwiching a Reese's peanut butter cup between Oreos. And, you know, I had two thoughts going on at the same time. One is, how did it take me so long in my life that I'm 37 and I haven't tried this until now? How is this the first time that I've gotten so high that I decided to open up Oreos and make Reese's Oreo sandwiches? That was my first thought, was man, this is a little bit messy, a little bit crumbly. I wouldn't put this in pastry of the year category. I think some adjustments would need to be made in order to better support the structural integrity of, and do that in a hotel room so that the mess is not your problem, because the structural integrity is not there. But when those different elements come together, it's quite delicious. So my first thought was, how have I gone this far in life without running this experiment? And what other junk food experiments haven't I run? And then also, like, dude, you got to get it together. It's already too much to be eating Oreos or Reese's late at night. But the fact that you went through the trouble of getting out of your bed because you couldn't sleep, going downstairs to buy the food, and then putting it together in this way is a little bit much. All right, let's get into one more nonsense story, and then we will get into the news. And people, coming out at the porches. We got great porches going on this weekend. I'm out in West Virginia with BK Chris. That one was a wild time. You can go look at the pictures. There were some sexy sunset photos last year. That was a romantic setting out in the hills of West Virginia, down the dirt road to the rocky road to the road that you think are going to break your tires roads, but no one's tires broke. And then you park on the big old field. Got the American Rejects, I think, open up for us, playing some sweet punk rock tunes. And then the night before that, we're in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. And then last night of this weekend is Johnstown, PA, which is not far from Pittsburgh. Show up, Pittsburgh people. It's by my buddy Andy. We're going to have a good time, and then I'm going to get back in my car and drive home. Anyways, porchtour.com. And then the next one's, as long as I'm just rambling, waiting for people to show up to the chat so I can confirm that I'm not just talking to myself. Because that's happened before. There have been times where we've done an entire episode and then found out that the equipment wasn't connected properly. And it was a show just for me talking to myself. But the other runs is you got a one-nighter out in Minnesota. Might be adding a rooftop in New York City, but that's not confirmed yet. And then after that, you've got the long runs down in back down in Tennessee by Andrews Farm. And then doing Memphis again, going back out to California. I'm scatterbrained. You go to porchtour.com and you can see all the details about the different porches. All right, now let's talk about Stephen Colbert for a minute here. $130 million a year in production costs. That wasn't his salary. I think his salary, it was either $20 million or $40 million. I can't remember the number. But $130 million a year in production cost. I feel like I could produce a lot of funny for $130 million a year. If you just think about how much that show does not appeal to you, and then you think about that price tag that they're spending $130 million a year, you could take, I don't even know 130 incredible comedians. I've got 30 comedian friends that are great. And if you gave each of them $1 million a year, you don't think we could come up with more content than what was going on in that show? And then I still have another $100 million that I can spend. I could track down another 50 writers at $100,000 a year and then still have money left over for production. The fact that that show is spending $130 million a year and is where it is. I'm not like, by the way, the show's not for me. And I'm not saying that I don't watch it, but that price tag the amount of comedy content that you should be able to create with $130 million. And then, of course, this is what's so amazing is now the left, they're whining and crying about censorship. I mean, the nerve of these people. I feel to this day, I feel like my content is still shadow banned on all platforms, but it's not what was going on during COVID. I mean, during COVID, that was true censorship. We've experienced true censorship, and we've experienced that brands for long periods of time wouldn't spend any amount of money sponsoring content that in any way was offensive, blah, blah, blah. And then you saw how that how many brands just lost money. I mean, Dylan Mulvaney would be the best example, or whatever that lady was with Bud Light. But it's not even that, just the lost profits of not wanting to take cheaper rates so you can advertise your product in front of your actual core audience because you don't want to be affiliated with certain content. And then we experienced direct censorship through the whole COVID regime. And then you've got this guy who is losing money at his network and his show is getting canceled. And then they're all yelling, you guys don't know what censorship is. A lot of us have experienced censorship. You don't get to scream censorship over Colbert losing his show while it's losing money. Even if it is censorship, you don't get to play that card. And then the whole scandal, it's kind of remarkable. So you've got CBS is trying to merge. I think it's CBS because 60 Minutes is on CBS. They're trying to merge with, I don't even know who they're trying to merge with, some parent company, Star Media Corp, Jewish Agency of Los Angeles, Top of the Hill Inc. I don't know. They're trying to merge with somebody. And at no point in time did Donald Trump call up anybody and say, hey, your merger is not going to get approved unless you pay me the $13 million for trying to cheat me out of the second election by wrongfully editing Kamala Harris to make her look like she was less of a dumbass than she actually is. You didn't actually make her look intelligent. You didn't feed her answers. I'm sure you gave select questions that were pre-approved, but she so blundered in Israel response, they had to edit that out of the episode. And then, Donald Trump sued them and said, hey, listen, you guys are supposed to be impartial. You can't be making favorable edits to just favor one side. And then you can just pose that against when he sat down with that lady who had given him a tough interview on 60 Minutes. I think he just left the interview. But anyways, at no point in time, there's no evidence that Donald Trump ever had a phone call and threatened them with not sending the merger through. The idea is that the network is just afraid that the merger won't go through during this current administration, and so they have to play nice and they have to play ball. But now here's what just drives me nuts. How often in the media landscape are people towing the Democratic Party line in order to pursue their careers? How many people in Hollywood are secretly conservatives and pretend like they're liberal all of the time because they think otherwise they're not going to be able to continue with their careers and they're not going to get casted in movies? I mean, if you want to say that the threat, the indirect threat of a merger not going through is censorship, I mean, then the entire industry is censorship of conservative content. The fact that people bite their tongues and don't share their opinions or point of views because they don't think that they're going to work. I mean, real censorship was when the government says, hey, I don't like this information about global warming, about COVID, about Hunter Biden's laptop, and it just gets sucked down from the internet completely. Or if you're even just speaking information that the algorithms don't like, and so it just gets completely shadow banned and buried. People that had budgets of $130 million a year and are losing money were not being censored. But then even the complaint, like, firstly, if it's true that they're afraid of the merger not going through, then it's not a problem of corruption of Donald Trump. It's the corruption of government. And then have a conversation with what goes on in television and media and how much power does the government have in terms of policing deals and mergers, that they're all playing ball. That can't be a one-off incident. And nobody's claiming that they have direct evidence of a threat from Trump. They're just making the claim that we're concerned about the merger. And if you're concerned about the merger, then it's not a conversation about Donald Trump. It's a conversation about the overarching authority of government and the way that that leads to censorship. But then I'm just saying it's so rich watching these people pretend like what we're seeing here is Colbert being censored. There's a lot of censored content out in the world. Colbert is not one of them. All right, let's get into the show, brought to you by YoKratom.com, home of the $6 kilo. And actually, before we get into all my fine slides here, there is one more random topic, which is the Nelk boys having on Netanyahu. And of course, we did an entire part of the problem on that. We broke down select clips. But I did have a weird feeling while watching it. And I'm thinking about, I'm almost surprised that no one's done this cartoon yet, or that no one has filmed this sketch yet. Maybe someone has, and you guys can tell me. But I do see, and it's just like low hanging fruit. It's not a golden sketch, but like I just do see the political podcaster interviewing Hitler, and Hitler's just being super chill. It's like, he's just super chill. And then he's like, yeah, before the speech, I do all the cocaine. They love it. They love it. I get all riled up and I'm yelling. Oh, yeah, me and Eva Braun, she's a good time. I mean, I only got one nut and she knows how to work it. This lady, she's not bad. And then but all I'm saying, and I'm not even comparing Netanyahu to Hitler. And I stand by the comment I said I'm part of the problem, that it showcases just how bad Kamala Harris was, that she couldn't swing sitting down on podcasts and coming off like a human being. And I don't prefer the old school system where, select journalists get the access, and that continues to just boost the networks. And it's just a feedback loop of asking favorable questions and having propaganda. So I'm not saying I got a perfect system here, but there are some moments where, here's an example. I was watching this video. It was very funny. It was crafted by AI. It was showcasing, like, it was as if it was the end of the world, and you had all the different influencers in the end of the world environment. And so they're making fun of your fitness influencers, telling you that you just need to buy their supplement, your beauty influencers telling you that you just need to put on this makeup. And they're doing a great job of spoofing all the different influencers, and they're pegging them perfectly. And then right at the end of it, they start doing a conspiracy podcast guy. And you know what? I should have gone back and rewatched this, but it was a pretty good impression of just, I'm not saying that it is this way. I'm just asking the question of, does this mean the blah, blah? And I'm like, they got me. All right. I'm a dummy. I guess I'm just one of these influencer millennials, just like every other douche out there. You just, I had that moment, like, all right, you got me, buddy. And it felt that way a little bit watching the Nelk boys, where I'm not advocating for traditional media in any capacity, but you do just watch, I guess, the characters that you don't appreciate lying through their teeth and just having the open, or being able to navigate the open platform of just being able to come off relatively smooth in the environment. And you're like, I don't know that I love this either. I'm not saying that the traditional media thing was great, or that, the relationship of, hey, I'll give favorable coverage to Israel forever, and this guy's got to come on here, and having that feedback loop was better. And like I said, at least they handed him some hard questions, even though they were kind of like high school bully questions, like, hey, why does everybody hate you? Why does everyone say that you're killing kids? It was all kind of that angle, and they didn't have the, intellectual capacity to push back or ask the clarifying questions. But it did kind of just showcase of, I don't know that I don't know, sometimes you just kind of sense things jumping the shark, and sometimes you're just like, I don't know that having random idiots talk to politicians is the best way for us to be getting information. I'm not saying that the last way was better, or I'm not saying that there's no place for it. I'm just saying there's something about it that feels a little bit off. And now when I watch like Thomas Massey sit down with Theo Vaughn, I'm like, I love this. Getting a good flavor of Thomas Massey, and he's giving you the information in a way that, normies can digest it. But then you see the characters you don't like, and just mucking it up on the podcast environment that seems to just humanize people. And you're like, not sure that I love that. All right. Like I said, show brought to you by YoKratom.com, home of the $60 kilo. And now let's get into some of the articles that I have. And so for today, let's start with, we've got, this new movement amongst the WNBA players. And what I liked most about this shirt is that it's written like in cheerleader black talk, pay us what you owe us. It's like the claps are written into the shirt. You must pay us what you owe us. And, I guess they obviously feel like they deserve more money for their thing that nobody cares about. And listen, this is how women get what they want, is by complaining. So you can't really fault them. Can you fault the women of the WNBA for getting out there and complaining? I mean, that's how they even have a WNBA. They complain their way into having a league. They complain their way into having female sports at every single university and being able to get scholarships for it. So can you fault these people for just trying to complain that they should be making more money while they're doing the thing that nobody cares about? And maybe they got a point. Maybe viewership is actually up so much this year, as everyone likes to see everyone all upset at the Caitlin Clark lady. I think that's her name. And so maybe based off of last year's contracts, there's enough money and interest coming in. They deserve a little bit more. But there is just something obnoxious about having a cool job and, being subsidized by the NBA, because I don't think the WNBA actually makes money, and then going, we deserve more. We deserve it. All right. Next one is we've got Donald Trump trying to bring back sugar in the Coca-Cola. And listen, I've long time been an advocate for when Donald Trump deals with the stupid little things. I like a distracted Donald Trump when he's not dealing with tariffs, even though I know you guys love your American jobs and they're working so well. On that note, by the way, if you want more podcast content of a dummy talking to an actual person that knows his shit, go check out my Zero Hedge show, where I delved in deep to tariff stuff with David Stockman. I think everyone here will enjoy that episode quite a bit. And for all of the hoorah of, hey, the tariffs actually aren't driving up prices, and we can lower the interest rates. It would be a good idea to go lower on the interest rates. If you guys are actually interested in the financial topics, go check out that show. It's free. It's on the Zero Hedge YouTube. And then one thing, this is very ADD here. This is very ADD, but I'm putting this out there for the comment section that for whatever reason just does not exist within this episode. Here, wait, maybe I can make a correction. Maybe this will, all right. If you guys want to try and comment, I think it might even just appear in the episode, and well, we'll find out. Anyways, got distracted from what was distracting me from the thing that I wanted to say. This is what I was trying to say. Send me an email, robsnewsroom@gmail.com. For one, I don't think I want to do the show on Rumble anymore. It's just an extra step for me when when I'm doing the production. So if you're particularly a consumer on Rumble and you feel very passionate about, because I feel like it goes to my site. You can watch it on RobbieTheFire.com or RobbBernsteinComedy.com for free. So if you just don't like being on any of the other platforms, you can watch it there. But listen, robsnewsroom@gmail.com. I'm curious if you guys particularly think it should be on Rumble. And then also, I've got 2 YouTube channels, which is kind of a relic of a earlier time for reasons we won't explain. There's the Run Your Mouth podcast channel, and then there's the Robbie the Fire channel. I think I want to get rid of the Run Your Mouth channel, because for all the people that just follow the content over there, I feel like you guys are missing out on the stand-up. You're missing out on the sketches, and I'm missing out on having a higher subscriber count and more views on a single podcast stream, which I think will actually help build the show. So I'm going to make like a last formal announcement for when I decide to get rid of the channel, but I'm throwing it out there. If anyone has any particular comments or concerns because you particularly loved the Run Your Mouth YouTube channel, or you really love the Rumble, I'm willing to hear you guys out. I don't know why I can't see the comments today. Well, maybe if I pull this up, I can actually see a little bit from the live screen. Mystery Box, I made all these jokes and he couldn't even see, shaking my head. Junior just saying poop. I'm glad I've got the comment section back up for that kind of information. Oh, look, the comments are here. All right, let's read some comments. I'm excited now. Feel like I really earned it. Trout Slap, the Zero Hedge project he's talking about is published in Spotify as Zero Hedge Debates, which is a little confusing. That's a good point. Maybe I should start its own Spotify channel. John Popek, the newest one with Stockman was really good. Thank you, sir. All right, Mystery Box. Yo, I made all these jokes and he couldn't see him, shaking my head. Well, make them again. I didn't see him. Jack Burton, stick with just the Robbie the Fire site. Run Your Mouth has too many other things that aren't you. I don't know what that means. Send me an email, robsnewsroom@gmail.com. John Popick, you've been missing gold, Robbie. Gold, I tell you, gold. Mystery box, him reading poop is me, Robbie. Blake, hey, Robbie. Hey, Blake. All right. Anyways, let's go back to Donald Trump over here, working on sugar in the Coca-Colas. And like I said, I like a distracted Donald Trump. I like it when he deals with the little petty stuff. I got some jokes in my act about that, and this falls right in there. I like that. Who doesn't prefer the real authentic one? You're going to drink, the Mexicans are going to have better Coke than us. I don't like it. There's no reason why the Mexicans get the sugar and we're getting the stupid canola oil. I mean, if, every once in a while you're in a restaurant, they get real excited they got the Mexican glass Coke, bottle Cokes. And like once a year, because you know what? I do not eat healthy. I really don't. I spoke about sandwiching Reese's into Oreos at the beginning of the show. Oh, and now that we got comments right now, you guys can let me know. Anyways, I quit drinking soda years ago. And if I go back to drinking soda, I do find it to be too sweet. And I'm not hating on you guys. It's like I'm not healthy. I drink beers. I drink booze. I'm not, I'll have the occasional Red Bull or sugar-free other high energy, blah, 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 full of chemical juice. But, I honestly don't even like the taste of Coke. And like once or twice a year, I'll end up in some place and like we got the authentic Mexican Cokes and I'll get excited. Like, all right, you know what? I haven't had a Coke in a year and I take one sip and I'm like, I don't like it. So anyways, but Trump's real excited getting the cane sugar back in the Coca-Cola, which I'll tell you guys a hack. I know you guys like hating on the Jews, but come April, if you ever notice the yellow capped Coca-Colas, those are kosher for Passover. And the corn is not kosher for Passover, whatever they call it, the corn syrup. And so those are made with real sugar. So if you actually wanted the real sugar Cokes, you could stock up every April. All right, next news story. Third Biden witness invokes Fifth Amendment during House deposition. No one remembers anything. Anyone remember? Apparently, dementia is contagious. That's what we're learning. If there's anything that you should be alarmed about is maybe you got to start visiting your grandparents with dementia less because it's turning out it's actually contagious. No one remembers a darn thing. Come after us, Buster. I mean, playing the fifth is not because you don't remember stuff, but joke still stands. You got them all. It's fun watching Donald Trump claim that he's going after the previous administrations, and there's some good scandals in there. You got Joe Biden and who was actually running the White House, and so bringing people in, and we can find out just how much dementia that guy had and who was covering for him. It's a fun storyline. Go after this auto pen. Let's find out what was going on. I'm all for it. The storylines that they're not quite yet going after is they're still trying to brush Epstein under the rug, seemingly. There doesn't seem to be any interest in going after Fauci. And then I think I saw a hearing the other day, but it doesn't seem like they're doing a whole lot to go after Mayorkas and what was going on with immigration to get as many people over the border as possible. But anyways, you got they're trying to clean up corruption, and they want to do it without anyone looking at the Epstein case in any capacity. And so they're going after some of the other low-hanging fruit amongst their political enemies to make, the other side look bad, the people that weren't friends with Epstein. And so you've got this one, which is they keep bringing people in from the Biden administration, just to delve into how much dementia did Joe Biden have, who was covering him, who knew what, who was actually running the White House. And thus far, all the people that they're bringing in are just pleading the fifth. This is from Sand News, and you guys can go fact check this quote on your own time. I just read it and thought it was hilarious, and that was enough for me to then ramble on about on the podcast. But obviously, you've got Donald Trump going after Jerome Powell. He wants lower interest rates. The reason he wants lower interest rates is because he wants to spend more debt. And he's under the opinion of, why would I spend more money financing our debt if I can be spending less money? And so Donald Trump, he's not concerned about the inflation. He's a low interest rate guy. He's not concerned with asset bubbles popping. He just wants lower interest rates because he wants to be able to spend more money. And you got Jerome Powell standing in his way going, I don't know how these tariffs are going to play out. And of course, now you got Donald Trump going, well, look, the tariffs didn't increase. We barely had the tariffs. Nobody knows if the tariffs might not increase prices, but you didn't put them in place for long enough to go, hey, we're good. You did on and off again. And then you didn't just let them sit. So we have no idea. And you go watch the Stockman thing, but this was fascinating, was that essentially with Vietnam being able to manufacture things for cheaper and with the 20% tariff, your best case scenario is you just end up with more manufacturing in Vietnam with it costing us, I guess between 10 and 20% more. But anyways, you got Jerome Powell going, we're waiting on the sidelines here to make sure that there's no inflation. You've got Donald Trump going, you're a big old dummy. There is no inflation. Everyone likes my tariffs. You guys just don't understand the tariffs. It's going to make us so much money. And you guys don't understand it. You got to lower the interest rates. And so there was an article in the Wall Street Journal saying that, I think it was Bassett came to Donald Trump and he explained to Donald Trump that that firing Jerome Powell would be a bad idea. And so, Donald Trump, he's going after the Wall Street Journal. He's telling them, I don't paint pictures. I don't paint pictures to Epstein for his birthday parties. And then here was the quote that I just thought this was so fun. Trump says WSJ story is untruthful. President Donald Trump denied the assertions made in the Wall Street Journal article, saying on Truth Social that people don't explain to me, I explain to them. No one explains to me, I explain to them. I'm the explainer around here. I explain things so good. Everyone comes to me for explanations. That's the way it works. So you have advisors that you don't have advising you? It just seems like the most retarded thing ever. You can't know everything. If I was the president and I had the access to the smartest people in the entire world who could explain things to me so that I could then make a decision, I wouldn't bring them in so that I could yell at them my nonsense, not ask a single question. Hey, can you bring in the smartest person on physics to explain to me the viability of nuclear fusion? And then they bring the guy in and you go, I'm going to explain it to you. You don't explain nuclear fusion to me. I'm the guy that's going to explain it to you. I mean, just the stupidity, the concept of that you're going to hire advisors who are supposed to be experts in their field so that, they can advise you and make recommendations. And then you go, nobody explains anything to me. I explain it to them, as if a parade of advisors come in and then Donald Trump just explains to them the information. I mean, listen, I get what he's saying in spirit, which is just don't tell me that I'm not running the show. I'm running the show, and these guys might make recommendations to me, but I'm running the show. But the idea of people don't explain to me, I explain to them, just the absurdity of experts pouring in and out of the White House all day, prepared to make a briefing to give the president information that he needs, and then him just yelling the information at them, and then them leaving. I guess that presentation went well. All right. Next, random news story. And this is Donald Trump. They're getting aggressive on that they're going to actually prosecute Barack Obama, or that they do want to go after the old guard of the deep state that undermined his first presidency. And so here you got Donald Trump making statements about Barack Obama, and they really are channeling that they want to go after the guy. But let's roll the tape. You guys are telling me no sound? All right, wait. We can fix that. Hold on, everybody. All right, let's do it this way. Just give me a second. For everybody just listening to the show tomorrow, wondering what happened, it's just a good old-fashioned tech error brought to you by sheath.com. Use promo code RYM and you get yourself 20% off the greatest underwear that's ever graced the balls of man. Because when there's moments like this, where you're live on air, 330 people are watching, you've been doing something for 10 years and you're still having tech issues, and you want to know how you can be cool, calm, and collected, the answer is sheath.com. You notice how I was undisturbed by the tech error that displayed my incompetence to the entire world, even after having this beautiful studio, thousands of dollars worth of equipment, and 10 years of experience? It's because of the incredible comfort of sheathunderwear.com, the greatest underwear that's ever graced the balls of man. Promo code RYM for 10% off the greatest underwear that's ever graced the balls of man. For those of you in the chat who wants to do a betting market on when I press play right now, whether or not you guys will have the sound. I made the adjustments. I think I did all the things that you need to do for this now to play and have sound right now. But who wants to start the betting market? What are the odds? Is it 2-1 odds on sound? 2-1 odds on zero sound? How often when we make a correction on the show am I able to then figure it out and then have sound versus us just need to move on? All right, we got 40-60 sound. We've got Trout Slop with the bet on sound. Mystery Box saying he's folding. Stop sitting, that shit on the poly market. I'll take a bet right now. I will put up $10 on sound right now. First person in the comments to say yes, the bet is on. Who wants to take the bet? Who wants to take the bet? $10 right now. I'm saying there's sound. Who wants to take the action on no sound? All you got to do is put into the comment section no sound, and now I will consider that the action. You got to put into the comment section no sound, and that bet is on. You can email me and we can settle up later. robsnewsroom@gmail.com. Who's taking the action? I'm not playing this video until someone says John Popick -120 money on the line sound. There you go. John Popick's taking the sound side. Who wants to put into the all right, action's on. Cram CS14 saying no sound. The bet is on. $10, one click on the line. Will we hear Donald Trump? Here we go.
Everything. This is the biggest scandal in the history of our country, and it really goes on to even the auto pen, because it all relates to the same thing. It all started the same sick minds. You have an auto pen, which is a tremendous, well, we don't have a president. We have an auto pen that signs everything. I'll bet you sign everything. You don't have auto pens.
There you go.
Everybody.
I'm going to collect that. I will show up on your porch for those $10.
It's all that whole thing leading right up to the end of it is the auto pen. And the auto pen was used by people, and Biden knew nothing about it. Biden knew nothing about it. They were signing documents that he knew nothing about.
Right,
As
I got to
example,
actually, let me pull it back to the Obama
we found
comment.
absolute, this isn't like evidence this is like proof, irrefutable proof that Obama was seditious, that Obama was trying to lead a coup. And it was with Hillary Clinton, with all these other people, but Obama headed it up. And, I get a kick when I hear everyone talks about people I never even heard of. It was just like, no, it was Obama. He headed it up. And it says so right in the papers.
Making some bold statements like they actually have an interest in going after Obama. All right, now let's move on to the Epstein storyline. And so DOJ announces imminent meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell, which is my guess is they're going to sit down and try and, hey, if you say Donald Trump had nothing to do with this and we shave a couple years off of you having to sit in jail, are you game for that? And I don't know why they haven't met with her until now. But suddenly, they don't want to just put all the information out. It seems like they're cherry picking what might make the situation go away. Hey, if we guys give you the grand jury, can you guys look through the grand jury? Is that something we can put out there? We might be able to give you the grand jury. It's clean, right? There's nothing in there. You redacted it all. Hey, are you guys redacting things so I can put that out as well? Hey, has anyone spoken to, can someone go find Ghislaine and bring her back to her jail cell and put her in there so we can have a conversation with her and she could say that none of us had anything to do with this? And then, she can, we'll send her another case of champagne to the island that she's actually living on when she leaves out the back exit of her jail cell. But if you can just make sure that she's there on Tuesday, Also, Pam Bondi's not going to sit down with her so that we can continue the thing where you go, that's a question for the DOJ. Well, I put that in the hands of Pam Bondi. And then Pam Bondi, she can't go sit down with Ghislaine because she's too busy with all the things on her desk. She's got a lot of things on her desk, you know? It's all on her desk. She still's got to sift through it all. And so it's, I think, her deputy assistant. Well, the deputy assistant met with her and apparently nothing came of it, but I can't speak to it because I wasn't there. Yeah, it's really important to me, which is why I assigned it to that person who assigned it to that person who had the other person working on it. So when you ask me, I can tell you that it's really important, but I didn't have anything to do with the final decision. Really important, and I'm the final decision maker, but when it came to that one, you can't ask me because it was assigned to that other person who I assigned it to. Anyways, that's the latest. They want to make the grand jury stuff available. Now they're talking about sitting down with Ghislaine Maxwell, apparently seeing if maybe she's got some more information on the supposed client list or other insights about what was actually going on here. Now, here's what I find most bewildering about this storyline is that Donald Trump is usually, you know, I might not agree with everything he says or does, but he's usually pretty good at the media part of this. And you would have thought that they could have just ran out the clock and just continued like they were digging into the Epstein storyline. And then, you know, we all would have forgotten about it and moved on with our lives. But you got to wonder, like, what, you know, how did he handle this one so poorly that it now is just blown up in his face? And then what has changed now that nobody was reporting on the Donald Trump Epstein relationship, or that was not an interesting storyline? And now that's all up in our faces, and they're running with it like the Russia collusion storyline, where you're hearing about it all the time. I don't watch network television. I don't read all the media, but now it seems like when I go to YouTube news, it's just endless clips of mainstream media suddenly obsessed with Epstein and wanting justice for Epstein and telling you about the relationship that Epstein had with Donald Trump. And so I'm wondering if like, I'm wondering if like the media decided that they were going to start running with this, and so then Donald Trump tried to front run that by saying, hey, there was nothing here, or Donald Trump for some reason wanted to get rid of the storyline, which I guess everyone's, you know, your best bets are that he just didn't want to contend with the machine apparatus because now he's in power, and taking down the CIA, the Mossad, or other agencies are just too dangerous, or the blackmail is so valuable that he would rather, you know, not put the old power structures away, but he'd rather hold on to the blackmail because now he's got all the blackmail information. I mean, who knows why, you know, I guess he wanted to get rid of the story, but seemingly he wanted to get rid of the story, and it's blowing up in his face because the American people, you know, they were willing to, you know what it was? Donald Trump kept testing the waters where he's like, I'll tell them I'm bringing back manufacturing jobs. And everyone's like, well, if Donald Trump's bringing back manufacturing jobs, trust the plan, trust the plan, trust the plan. And he's like, man, I really sucker these people. It doesn't matter what I say. These suckers are on board. And then he finally found where the line was, where after continuously just being like, wow, these people will believe anything I say. Yeah, I'm bringing back your factories. Yeah, we're gonna quit bringing in the precious minerals that are needed, and then you're gonna have your factory here again. Yeah, I'm just gonna shut things down. It's not gonna harm the economy, but then you'll have a factory job again. And then they were sitting around, they're like, man, if these suckers believe this story, they'll believe anything I say. And then he finally went out there with the Epstein storyline, and then everyone's like, oh shit, this guy is lying to me. But all right, anyways, I wonder if it's such an interesting like switch that Donald Trump not only wasn't interested in pursuing the Epstein storyline, but wasn't smart enough to seemingly shelve it. And now the media is obsessed with the Epstein storyline because Donald Trump tried to shelve it. They did have some sort of a friendship, and now it's making him look bad. And then just in terms of watching this in my head, like it's a movie between the different mafia bosses, it almost feels like the media was going to start doing it. So Donald Trump tried to front run it. And now he's threatening to actually go after Obama and the old deep state and all these other people for their crimes, to be like, hey, you guys better back off on the Epstein storyline, or I'm going to come after you guys for these storylines. All conjecture, if that's even the right word. I'm just pulling theories out of my ass because who the hell knows what's going on here. But the latest is the DOJ announces that they will sit down with Ghislaine Maxwell and I'm sure come back. Hey, we can't show you the meeting, or we can only show you select footage, but she said everything that we've already told you, which is, Donald Trump was hanging out with him to keep him from doing the kid stuff. They were both being creeps, but they were being friend creeps where they were hitting on models and like doing that thing. And then, Jeffrey Epstein started going down after a dark path of going younger and younger and younger and pushing it. And then Donald Trump had to go, hey, I can't go with you on this journey. That's what Ghislaine said. Ghislaine said that she would try, that Donald Trump was a noble man who tried preventing Jeffrey Epstein. He wanted to keep Jeffrey just being a creep towards adult models, but Donald Trump didn't have that kind of sway over him. All right, this is out of order because I thought we were going to get into that. You know what? I'll come back to this one. If you guys can remember slide number 8, to come back to slide number 8, so that we can look more talk about the Fed. But if we're already in the Epstein storyline, why don't we take a look at the latest? We can talk about diners too in a minute. But basically you had Thomas Massie, which, where's my video of Thomas Massie? Why is this all going wrong today, people? I had videos of Thomas Massie. I swear there were videos of Thomas Massie here. All right, you got Thomas Massie, who is pushing for release of all of the information and trying to make a vote for, hey, let's get all this information out. And then you've got, basically the other Republicans, and specifically Speaker Mike Johnson, towing the party line, lockstep with Donald Trump, and saying this is just what the Democrats would do. Donald Trump has a different agenda that he's looking to work on. And if there's credible evidence, you can trust Donald Trump that he will release credible evidence as it's available. But anyone that's talking about this Epstein thing, instead of letting Donald Trump work on his agenda, it's like Russia collusion. This is a Democrat thing to bog down the president from his more important agenda. You can trust him that if there's information to be available, he will make it available. And so anyways, we can listen to the juxtaposition between Thomas Massie and Speaker Mike Johnson. Let's start with Thomas Massie.
Why is that going to the grand jury and asking for the release of this testimony not enough for you?
That's like one of 12 things that we need. Like in our House resolution, which calls up the bill, we ask for a dozen different things.
So I like that off the bat of like, yeah, grand jury, it's nice, but that's like one of a whole bunch of things if you wanted to get to the bottom of this. So to pretend like that's the end all be all of what we're looking for in regards to the Epstein thing. All right, let's continue.
And that testimony would be one thing, but that's not a whole lot of stuff.
Do you have any reason? Do you believe there's any reason why this information is not being released by the administration?
I think it's embarrassing to the intelligence community. It may be embarrassing to the president's friends. I'm not particularly implicating the president himself. I don't allege him of any wrongdoing, but I do believe that there are some things that need to be brought to the American public's knowledge that have happened that will be embarrassing.
So you think after during the August recess, momentum's going to build for this?
Oh, absolutely. This is not going away. Look, less than 10% of the American people believe that this shouldn't be released. And the legislation that we wrote protects the victims and protects national security. So there's no reason not to release everything that they've got over there at the administrative branch.
And you already have commitments, 218 commitments to sign on to your discharge petition?
So we just picked up another Republican today. I think we're at about a dozen.
All right. And then, so of course, what Mike Johnson does to prevent this is he sends everybody home for an early vacation. This is from the New York Times. I didn't even read the article, but I just thought the line was funny. Speaker Mike Johnson sent home House members home early for the summer to avoid holding votes on whether to release files related to Epstein. And there's just something so great about, all right, we need everyone to have more vacation because we need you not to be doing your job. We go home and take a vacation. It's like the police detective when he's digging into the storyline that no one wants him to dig into. So they go, you know what? Badge, gun, you're on leave. Take a vacation, Clark. I don't know why I went with Clark. I don't know. Superman, whatever. But that's what it's, he just, he realized that they were going to vote to release the information. And so to prevent the vote from happening, he demanded it in early summer. which is nice. It's nice for your reward of not getting a job done is, I guess, more vacation. And here's Mike Johnson actually commenting on it. I believe it's this slide right here. It's all out of order today. Go to slide 11. Here we go.
What do you say the possibility of bearing to not sign on to the discharge petition?
Discharge petitions are never a good idea in the House. It is a tool of the minority party, not the majority. The majority party has stated its position, and it is mine, and it is the president's, that we want maximum disclosure. So the rest of it is a political game that Democrats are playing, and I hope Republicans don't join it.
Unspent.
Some Democrats are saying that they're going to.
That's why any push to transparency is just political games, and so the Republicans shouldn't engage in these games.
Republicans are not releasing Epstein files in the midterm.
It's nonsensical. They have nothing else to talk about. I wish they would talk about policy, things that would help the American people, but instead they're playing political games. We have said our position on that, and there's no daylight between us and the White House.
Everyone's all focused on the Epstein thing. All right, let's play the Scott Bassett clip because I thought it was kind of entertaining. It's about the Federal Reserve and how they get nothing right, and so perhaps we shouldn't even have the Fed. And it's amazing to both agree with people and disagree with them at the same time. So let's play this and call it an episode.
Look, Joe, I think that what we need to do is examine the entire Federal Reserve institution and whether they have been successful. I'm speaking, actually, I'm going to be in the building this evening. There is a regulatory conference that begins tomorrow. I'm the keynote speaker tonight talking about regulation. The Fed as well deals with monetary policy, regulations, financial stability. And again, I think that we should think, has the organization succeeded in its mission? You know, if this were the FAA and we were having this many mistakes, we would go back and look at why has this happened?
I see in the comments, great voice, horrible speaker. He's actually a little bit too good of a speaker, and that's he's helping Donald Trump sell the tariff policies. In this clip, he clearly needs a sip of water, and no one's brought it for him, so he's kind of clamming up. But I don't know. This was just so, because he's right. It's funny. If the FAA was doing this bad of a job, we'd review what they're doing. You look at the Fed, and they keep saying, oh, it's just temporary inflation, and they never get anything right, and yet they all continue to have their jobs. And so his gripe is, why do we just have all these academics getting paid all this money if they're just going to be wrong all the time? The problem is that in this case, what he thinks that they're wrong about is that tariffs driving up prices, which I don't think the tariffs were around long enough for us to see whether or not that impact would happen. If you want more on that, you can watch my episode with Stockman. Also, it's not absolute. It's still too early to tell. But let's continue with the clip.
I mean, look at as you said at the top of this broadcast, there was fear mongering over tariffs, and thus far we have seen very little, if any, inflation. We've had great inflation numbers. So, I think this idea of them not being able to break out of a certain mindset, all these PhDs over there, I don't know what they do. This is like universal basic income for academic economists.
It's just so interesting. I love it. Universal basic income for economists, that they get to just work at the Fed. And like I said, there's two scandals at the Fed. One is for their mission statement. They never accomplished the mission statement. So how many people get to get jobs? But that's just if you buy into what they're doing. The other problem is that they just exist to basically bail out the big banks and prop up asset bubbles and front run markets and give over more money to people that have the money, and that they're privately owned. Those are all good things to criticize the Fed for. But I agree with all of his criticisms here, that the people at the Fed don't know what they're doing, and maybe we shouldn't have the Fed. But the idea that they're specifically just getting Donald Trump's inflation wrong, and that the Fed should continue to exist, but it should continue to exist to lower the interest rate, and in my opinion, just create more of the worst of the Fed, which would create more easy money, that favors the elites and creates inflation and actually erodes your jobs and your wealth. But anyways, that is our episode. Thank you for hanging out. Back next week, Wednesday, with another episode. Come out to Porches, www.porchtour.com. We've got porch action going all the way to the beginning of December. And then, I don't know, I'll eat a lot of junk food on my couch. All right, that's our episode. Catch you next week. Sayonara. Show's over.